Microphone. Okay, cool. We got the microphone check. We're good on that. I got the chat up. I can go here. If I turn it sideways, I should be able to read it and respond at the same time. I think I'll just put that there. I think I would just go and put... Yeah, cool. It works. So there's that. I don't know why the chat overlay is not working. Well, I guess we might not have a right side chat overlay, but we do got the game counter in the bottom right. And we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Not going for the event, not going for top tier. I just wanted to see something. I had this theory that maybe the Aces of Thunder game is maybe not the best deal. So let's go here. I just do 1 day of premium. And we're going to go through the British tree. So, and I'm doing the British tree just as a point. Because here's the deal. This is a new account. I've got a couple of planes, but I've got a premium Mustang. I've got like a good crew. I think total, if you're going to total this up, this is maybe like a $10, $15 worth of Golden Eagles or whatever to get to this point. I also can do some of the American tree, but I'm kind of like a partially part of the way through the American tree, so it's not necessarily a good start. Russian tree, don't have anything. So the British one will be kind of straightforward. I'm going to go in with the Mustang Mark 1A. Today is a 4050 day or a 3040 day, I don't remember. But I'm just going to see how many of these planes that I can unlock and in the period of time that it takes. And just kind of go around and play the game. With the idea being that if you compare Aces of Thunder to War Thunder, how quickly is it conceivable to unlock basically all of the key planes that you would get by purchasing Aces of Thunder? I think for like $50 or $60. It might be $25. I don't really know. The game's dead, man. it's really dead. But want to see what happens. Now for the British tree, we don't have anything really exciting as far as compared to Aces of Thunder. We do get some of the early Spitfires that you don't get in the Aces of Thunder game, early Typhoon, but I think the Mark 1B is in Aces. I think the F Mark 9 is. I don't think the LF Mark 9 is. I think there's a Mosquito variant, and it's like one other thing that I just forget. Either way, it's not super duper relevant. And I could do the same thing with the Japanese tree, but the Japanese tree on this one, after a couple of games, I'm already up to KD4s and stuff, so this would not be a good like start from scratch type thing. Italy, haven't done anything with Italy. France, haven't done anything with France. But I do think that starting with Britain would be well enough good. That bottom right counter, by the way, is just going to be the number of games that we've played so far. So without further ado, we'll hopefully be able to get going. We're just going to go for available games. We got 3040 Ruhr. This Ruhr is probably going to be the better of the options. Smolensk is big. Dover Strait might not be a bad grinding option, just because there's usually bombers in the middle. Denmark, kind of a poor option. Edema. So I am going to say eeny, meeny, miny. Catwarfer says, "Is this your main account?" No, it's not my main account. This is my secret account. I don't even have a title on this one. You ranking challenge season 1 participant or tester? I'll be rankings challenge tester. make them real angry. This is one that I actually made for trolling people, and then because the Rankings Challenge had a limit to the number of games you could play a day, I started playing on other accounts too, because like I just wanted to duel. So that's the lore drop. I'm going to do the Dover Straight. I think the Dover Straight might be the quickest, bestest option. And I got, man, it's not. Oh, my track clip is trying to fall off. Let me fix that. Go here. Alright, that'll be better. So default, I'll go air targets. So allegedly, let me turn my sound down. I'll turn it down on my. God dang it. So if you look at the Aces of Thunder numbers, they're not very good. I think they had like a peak player count of like 70 in the last like couple days, which is just bad. So I got premium right now. Premium's only gonna last a day. But I've done this before for AirRB, and getting like a couple of 2-kill games on average in AirRB is a very quick way to get through a good portion of the prop tech trees. Which, if you're going to look at Aces of Thunder as an option, because of the way War Thunder is structured, the way that you can kind of get everything pretty quickly up front. Before you get kind of bogged down into later tiers, this is probably arguably a better option. Or a better value. Arguably. Not by a lot, but... Catwarper says, I thought Aces of Thunder was Gaijin just filling a checkbox for them getting on PlayStation VR. I don't really know. I think that there was some... I heard rumors, what I think amounts to rumors, that they were basically contracted to make a VR game for PlayStation, and that fulfills that. But, I mean, who knows? They... Like... If they wanted the game to be bad and die right away... why did they sponsor like Greg's Airplanes to do like a pre-alpha review on it? Why did they get Training Days to get build hype for it? Why did they get like a couple of other guys that were kind of not really War Thunder people to build hype around it? Like they made, like, it seems like they made an attempt to market the damn thing. It's just that it's not a big market to begin with, and the things that War Thunder does well, I think that game probably doesn't showcase all that good. Like, launching a game like that with no option for like a 1 versus 1 playlist or 2 versus 2 playlist, or some kind of equivalent of like IL-2 combat box perpetual server nonsense, is like, to me, seems really short-sighted. That, and just vastly overestimating like the amount of potential interest. That and maybe there is interest there. Maybe there is interest in single player only style games, but I honestly don't think so. I don't think that there's at least with the level of fidelity that it provides, with the mechanics that they use for their single player missions, it's just not very good. Let me make sure my mic, I just bumped the mic, so I gotta put a plus, so we'll get the counter up to 1. So we got cover bombers. We got destroy bombers G6. Just gonna put them all the way down here. So let me scroll here. I mean, Cat Warfare has a point about, he says he feels like they're adding features and then not fleshing them out to make the game seem bigger than it is. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I would say that it really seems that the game itself kind of exists for whatever the developers happen to be interested in for the time being. Like, I think maybe the comparison that Enigma made at one point was like how DCS is, the developers see it as a digital museum, and I think War Thunder, while not a digital museum, is maybe not far from that kind of aspect where the game is really secondary to everything else. Like, there's a lot of potential here. There's also, like, they've also done pretty well at providing the mission designer tool thing, the CDK file type thing. And even in Sim, even though we have a small community, even though you'd think that we would kind of rally around making our own events, there's really predominantly the events that have been successful as of late are basically single player, or not single player, but cooperative missions in B-17s and stuff like that. Of like, basically, I think maybe what amounts to doing a sightseeing tour with an interactive one. Let's see what we can get here. $190. Missed. Like, I'll be really interested to see what Combat Pilot does. My Hispano aim is atrocious, and okay. I think that's another 51. $109. Ga. How am I missing? Like, holy hell. I got 56 rounds left. Like, I'm ever so slightly behind. He's dead there. He's gonna get hit, I believe. I hit. Come on. Another hit. Another hit. Whatever, I'm going to assume that he's not going to make it back. And I will fly back, I will get my landing bonus. So this is the British P-51A Mustang Mark I. So it is the Cannon Stang. It's basically the same flight model. There's supposed to be like a little bit of difference between this and the American one, but in reality, I would say they're basically the same. This one might be a little bit easier to fly, but I mean, to me they're the same. I would just say they're the same. This is a really good plane for a pickup. This is I'm using this as an analog of like what would be in Aces of Thunder, because the 51C's in there at largely very similar performance at the altitudes that you'll basically fight at. And the whole premise of the stream is really to see, using Sim as the game mode that we want to grind with, to see how far in a single tech tree I can get just playing the game. To really kind of ascertain like what is the value proposition of Aces of Thunder. In comparison to this, like, are you better off spending the 35 on Aces of Thunder if the game was popular versus War Thunder if you spent 35 and were like really smart with like buying like a 3.0 4.0 premium plane in the tech trees that you wanted, where you could maybe get a better value and game experience out of this. A new guy asked Ryan, what makes it easier to fly? So allegedly, and I haven't verified it for myself, this one has less of a tendency to exhibit prop torque effects, and exhibits less wing stall effects than the American Tech Tree one. Now, I have done both of them, 1 vs. 1, symmetrical style duels. Personally, I don't notice a large difference, but also I might not be the right guy to ask, because I do fly a lot of planes that have definitely significant prop torque effects, and I might be compensating for them just kind of like instinctively of like, oh, the plane's going to the left, I'm gonna rudder to the right, or vice versa, and I might be at the point that I don't really think about that too much, where that kind of gameplay difference to me just wouldn't register. Once I get over the base, I'll do like a max performance turn. I didn't get any score. That guy should have died. That guy, I damaged that guy like a little bit. Yeah. So allegedly, the ability, so I can pull back almost fully on the stick here, and I do get like a little bit of left wing drop. But I guess for guys that are saying that this is better, the ability to kind of just have the stick fully to the back with the flaps up is maybe a big deal. I think that the difference would come down to the actual kind of control limitations between this one and the American one, if there is a difference, where I think the actual performance is probably the same, with the American one actually just having a higher control surface deflection limit would be maybe my guess. But I mean, for gameplay purposes, it makes no difference. I keep sliding this on a quarter. Let me get. Like, I think overall the 51 flight models are rather. The early ones are rather docile. The D models are. They're not hard. They just have like this tendency for the nose to move. Maybe a little bit more than I would want, and exhibit kind of sensitivities like a little bit higher than I would like, especially towards the center of the control zone, where to get like it's not too hard to do like high pull deflection shots in a 51, but low pull tracking shots can be kind of like finicky, where like if you don't have a lot of input, that first little bit of input really causes the nose to kind of drift around, or just kind of like bouncy. But then the P-51H is is a very, very excellent plane in the game. Just unfortunate it doesn't really have any peers. So, like... That and all the 51s have three-way trim, so you can trim all the axes, so you can really spend a lot of time making it fly exactly the way you want. I kind of am always messing with trim, but I'm very tactile, distracted person where like I just want to be doing something with my hands too. Like I wouldn't be able to fly mouse and keyboard just because I'd be bored. So I shot that guy, and I got nothing from it. D5 bombers, though. This will be an easy, pretty straightforward objective. Orion says you'll probably have to measure the plane's roll yaw at the same speed and altitude when you let go of the stick. I mean, I could do like a whole thing about it, but I mean, the differences, if they are there, are subtle, and I am more of the expectation that those differences are more imagined than they are a reality. It's a very common thing for War Thunder players to hallucinate some kind of advantage on something just because it's a premium, when in reality it's just the exact same thing. For instance, earlier in the one of the sim discords I was in, I saw a discussion on the Japanese P-51C versus the American P-51C, and the argument was that the Japanese P-51C is better due to the dorsal fin on the tail that makes it perform better somehow. I have used both of those planes. I have used all of the P-51C variants in the game, and I cannot tell you a lick of difference between any of them. But people in the sim server are insisting that there's a difference. Like I've seen it enough. I've seen it happen enough times where my answer is always show me, as opposed to tell me. P-38 back there. That's the other thing too. When you compare this to Aces of Thunder, Aces of Thunder doesn't have a P-38. It has 0 P-38s in it, which is, to me, rather dumb because the P-38 is a much more iconic airplane than the P-63. And you could have included the P-63 into Aces just under like the Russian tree. But maybe in the future there will be an Aces of Thunder expansion pack. But looking at the player numbers in that game, I think it's already done. It was launched, and it's dead as hell. Like, I might be a poor, starving college student, but even I can afford the $25 for the game, and I'm not touching it. I watched a couple of streams on it, and I was like, I don't think I can get any kind of player experience there that number one, I can't get here, and it'd be just the same thing of like working harder for the same thing of like just finding games. Like I saw a post of people saying their queue times are like 30 minutes, which for a brand new game is horrible, and the queue times being that long just kind of indicates that there just isn't enough players to even sustain that. And that is going to create a feedback cycle too. Like, if I'm going to close the game after waiting 15 minutes, other people are going to do it too. That means eventually the player count goes to 0. Orion asks, is the Mosquito in Aces? Yes, I think the Mark 7 Mosquito is in Aces. I don't think the new one that got added to War Thunder in the last like year is in there. The one that's like slightly better high performance plane that's black. I don't think that one is in there. Let's see. So you have some okay planes in Aces of Thunder, but I think it's Mark 5, Mark 9, Spitfire, Typhoon, Mosquito, and I think they put the Firefly in there, or the Firebrand, or one of the goofy torpedo bomber looking things, which, okay, I guess. I got a fuel leak. What the f... I got another guy shooting at me. I do. Try the old throttle drop technique. It's like a speed range I don't want to be in. Oh, another dude. Oh, hey, I got credit for one. Okay, we roll up the sleeves and we lock in. I mean, Orion says they could have added the cockpit features to War Thunder. I mean, I don't think that they... I think that they could have, but, I mean, if you look at least what Lineca said about it, apparently the cockpit features in the game don't really work all that good, which is really clashes with a lot of the alpha testing review stuff. And when I say that, especially the cockpit stuff, I'm talking about the Greg's review, where he was very, very emphatic about it being basically a complete game and the features are working really, really well. And I think that's maybe just a big difference between someone who's a gamer versus someone who's maybe plays these kind of things a little bit more casually, or like I don't even say casually. I just say the enjoyment perspective is maybe a good bit of difference. So I do know that I got a couple of guys in the middle in 109s, and I'm gonna go try to shoot them down. That's what I'm gonna do, because I think it's possible. Because we got Aphexian, Netrikup, and Jace629. Like, I think maybe the biggest issue they did with Aces is maybe modeling the game off of AirRB and making that the default game mode, or basically making nerfed, neutered AirRB type stuff the game mode of. It's AirRB with three respawns, which is anything with respawns ends up being you spawn at the second spawn you have is at a disadvantage. Like, I don't know, maybe you do like some kind of 4 versus 4 mode where, like, you know, you spawn but you're like 3 kilometers apart, 4 kilometers apart, and the whole point is to just do like a 4 versus 4 like engagement in I don't know, the planes of similar maneuverability performance would be ideal. It would be a premise for a game mode. 1 versus 1, very obvious premise for a game mode. EC, they already have it. It already exists. They could have done that. It would have been fine. Maybe not having auto trim, or auto trim, basically turning off the prop torque effects as the default would have been okay. But then again, I think you're also probably just going to run into, I think if you do the market research, you would probably find that sim games overall in the current market are just overall not that popular. Like, this genre is niche, and especially World War II is niche, and there's IL-2's already established. DCS kind of exists, but even then, that's more modern stuff. You have a couple of sims in the works, and War Thunder does some stuff really, really well. The people that run War Thunder don't understand what their game does well, so they have a good idea and then they chuck it in the trash. Like, how many people would like to see rankings challenge type game mode? Just a 1 versus 1 game mode. You queue up. They had a whole entire ELO system where it was good enough that it would match you up against players of similar skill. You'd lose a couple, you get it bumped down a couple rankings, and then you'd win, and then you bumped up and you bumped down, and it was, when they did it twice, and both times it worked fairly well. It did the things that a game mode like that would have needed to do. Literally took that and was like, how about we just don't touch this for another 3 years, because it didn't generate esports revenue. Prop duels are not watchable. you had people like me playing on multiple accounts to just keep playing the game mode, because it was probably the most fun I've had in the game on a consistent basis. Like, entertainment for time frame, pretty good. I think that's a fucking G55. I think it is. Yeah, I thought it was a 190. Come on, motherfucker. Let's go. Go. Yay, my team helped. Let me finish this up though. Oh no, it's a 109 F4. I saw the tan. I think there is a... Well, no, the early G55 might be down at this tier. I forget where. Okay, I get credit for that. Okie dokie. I didn't expect that, but... I mean, Orion says that they could have improved on Enduring Confrontation of War Thunder and ported it to Aces. I mean, yes and no. There's not... The problem with EC is that a lot of people, like, the premise of having big map, you respawn, and you get to kind of like pick and choose objectives is perfectly fine, and EC, just due to that fact, is able to exist on its own. But as an actually like polished, developed game mode, there's really not a lot of rhyme or reason to it. Like, when you look at some of these maps, what you'll find is ticket bleed is kind of randomized. Objectives are kind of like, don't really like, there's no coherent like flow of battle in EC. In the same way that you would get from like a objective-based game mode like Conquest in Battlefield 4 or Rush in Battlefield 4 is a really good example of a objective-based game mode that is actually well designed, where it feels like you are actually like going towards a goal. There's times in Battlefield where you will make plays where your team makes a good push past the center point, or they get a cap point, or everyone concentrate there, where the battle kind of like flows there, and then it'll be like a nice like ebb and flow. EC doesn't necessarily, I don't think, has that in a lot of cases. So for me, it really feels like some of this, like, I like PvP stuff obviously, but a lot of objectives in EC are just kind of like fetch quests. Like, where's our next aerial capture point going to spawn, if there was going to be an aerial capture point on this map? We have no idea. There's no, I don't know. The front line never actually moves in a way that you're like, okay, yeah, we won this ground battle, and this ground battle enabled our team to move towards a certain thing. Like, that's supposed to exist, and in some framework it probably does, but you don't really... You do a thing, but it doesn't feel like it really had any kind of, like, gravity to it, I think is the word that I'd use to describe it. Where in good PvP games where the objectives are designed well and the gameplay works well, like, there's gravity to losing certain points in Battlefield maps. There's gravity to a couple of your, like, one of your tanks getting stolen, or the helicopter getting shot down, or there's gravity to, like, the skyscraper in the middle of the popular Battlefield 4 map collapsing and then changing that. Like, there's gravity to that, and what EC really lacks is there's objectives, but there's no gravity to it. Like, I have no incentive, I have really no desire to escort this B-25 his gameplay is completely separated from mine. Like, yeah, he's going to go to, like, this base here. He'll maybe destroy it. I have no reason to escort him. At the same time, he has no reason, and he's actually disincentivized to form, like, a squadron of B-25s and go that direction. It doesn't make any sense. So he's on his little fetch quest. He's going to go all the way to his bomb point. He's going to drop his bombs. This guy, he's probably, like, new and whatnot, but there's no real structure here. Like, these objectives exist, but what do I get for assist in defending Allied Port Alpha 2? So I have to defend this port up here. Well, nobody's going to attack it, number one. There's no players on the enemy team that are in torpedo bombers. The torpedo mechanics in the game don't necessarily work all that well. The AI mechanics don't necessarily work all that well. Nobody is forming a squadron of Avenger torpedo planes or anything to go strike this objective to maybe take this port. There's a couple of destroyers out here. They just kind of exist in free space. If someone decides to destroy them, they'll destroy one of them, and then 27 minutes later be able to destroy another one. And I might be like, my gravity, my motivation to defend those is to see those on the kill feed and then fly to them to be able to get a kill. Although me getting a kill doesn't necessarily really feed into anything either. Like the gravity, the real gravity in EC, the real gravity that people don't understand when I critique Enduring Confrontation is, like, it's not the objectives that you are worried about. It's really kind of getting into the psychology of the player. Like, you kill players and then they quit, and that is ultimately in a lot of ways what decides the course of the game. I had a game last night where I was not doing too hot in the Eurofighter. I was going basically 1-1, 1.2-1, getting like having 54 bajillion people like come at me, and I stuck it out. And eventually, those numbers kind of dwindled. Like me just kind of doing okay, and then a couple of like friends ended up joining me, and we turned it around, and it wasn't too hard. But the gravity was literally just the consequences of living and dying and making the other guy die more, to the point that the reward structure doesn't reward that, and then he leaves. It had nothing to do with like the convoy that I bombed at the very end of the game. It had nothing to do with that. The convoys, they exist, but those objectives they have there's no gravity to them. And that's my little rant on that. So for me, improving EC is something I'd say is rather difficult. I think that you would have to, what I would do, and because I have 40 people here somehow, I don't know how I have 40 people here, which also means I probably need to go into the snow and get another beer, is maybe start the game development at a smaller, more focused scale. Focus on the aspects that I think people would enjoy. The things that are okay, and focus on having a little bit more variety before growing from there and figuring out like what makes sense. And to do it, though, you really have to carefully tailor things. Now, let me leave on that note for a second, because I got some beer in the snow that's nice and cold. I want to go get my beer slushy, so I'll be to the right back. Bear, 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 bear. That's some dang good old beer, Mr. Squish. Put that, and I'll put it over here. I'll put it on a. You gotta put the beer on a towel. It's got snow on it, so. Otherwise, it leaks all. It doesn't leak all over the place, but the snow melts and it gets on my desk, and then my stupid throttle slides off it. So, let me do a double check here. I'll scoot up to my chair. It's be a good time. I should have plugged in that damn web camera and do like squish face reveal. So, we got Dover Strait. We were at Dover Strait. Dover Strait's kind of We'll go here. Actually, this will be a good kind of test bed for some of the type matchups you'll see in Aces. Because you do have a good proportion of Japanese planes. Because the Aces of Thunder Japanese planes, I think, are A6M, a K61, and a J2M2. I want to say a torpedo bomber, and then a twin engine fighter. So you get kind of like the trifecta of all the really, really annoying Japanese planes to deal with it, kind of like this tier. So we can go into that and we'll do that. But anyways, what I was saying about the game is I think you need to focus on smaller things that people enjoy. Like, I think there is a benefit in like events. If Gaijin was smart enough to do events. Like, I think a sim event that starts with the simple premise of, call it MiG Alley. And the whole premise is it's a multi-spawn game mode. You get 3 spawns. It's a relatively small map. You put 8 F-86s on one side. You put 8 MiG-15 Bisses on the other side, and it's just a deathmatch, and that's it. You just do that. I think that would be a perfectly valid kind of premise for a simulator type matchup. Now this game here is dead, so I'll play it. Maybe someone shows up, but I think I joined a split lobby. I think that premise is good enough to be entertaining, and you can take that premise and you can run it with F4 Phantoms versus MiG-21s. You could run it with F5Es or A versus like MiG-21 Bis. Maybe limit it to like guns or something. Just simple premises. And then work out from there. Like a bomber escort thing wouldn't be too bad. As long as it was like, okay, under the same kind of idea. Like, okay, you got a formation of bombers. Okay, looks like we're going back to Dover Strait. You get a formation of bombers, right? And your job is to escort them, and you get 4 P-51s, or you get 5 or 6 P-51s, whatever it is. I would say 8. Like 8 versus 12 would be fine, where the enemy team gets 109s and like FW-190s. But they're not G6s, they're like G2s or whatnot, where the 51s have an advantage in speed and whatnot, and maybe you get some kind of thing where you can set up like the actual kind of like head-on attacks against bombers and whatnot, and you get like a little like historical kind of premise that maybe kind of sort of works. And even if it doesn't work out perfectly, if you have enough rotations, you can kind of keep iterating on the process. But that's the thing. War Thunder, when they have developed their stuff, they don't really iterate on things either. There's no iteration. There's, oh, we did this event and we shelved it for the next like 3 years. The last time we had the bomber escort premise was an Air RV, and I think it was 2 years ago, and it turned out that I think the way that it worked is as long as one bomber got to the objective, it was a win. And I want to say the Germans would win more often than not at the start, and then they reduced the number of Germans, and then it kind of flipped. But I can't remember, but it's been a while. That they didn't iterate on that premise at all. They just like did it once 2 years ago, and then did it once 2 years before that. And then we're just back to this. So, and I actually think that this is a relatively a good game. Now, I was hoping that with the event, the player population would be higher, but I also think that maybe this is not a bad game to showcase like what's realistically like kind of like the expectations. Like obviously, if I go out and blow up like 64 people in like 5 minutes and whatnot, and then advance halfway down the tech tree, be like, I can't really do that. But this is like go out, kill a couple of AI, like a little AI formation, get no dogfight, and then go back to base. Like this is kind of like the level of commitment that I think other people actually do enjoy. Like there's, I approach the game as like a really hardcore PvP player. I'm like, yeah, I want to kill everything because that's my enjoyment. But like I'm not dumb enough to realize that a slower paced, more methodical kind of like enjoying watching the scenery go by is not necessarily like an invalid point of view. Like Toastman is a guy who streams, I think, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't like me because I have joined against him in games, and he was, I think, upset about that. But I've watched some of his stuff, and like there's a value to guys that fly around. They're like, oh, I like that there's waves down there. Like look at the amount of detail they have put into the water effects, like the way that light kind of refracts. There's value in that, and that's fine. Cover bombers C3, so I think these are ours. Don't have any destroy. Well, like destroy bombers. Well, I have destroy bombers C3 and cover bombers C3. So that's about as useful as can be. That looks 109 shaped though. I do feel as soon as I open fire on this guy, there's gonna be another one that's like directly behind me that I didn't see. Well, I know that's AI, so that... Alright, there's one. So I've got to try to equalize energy with him. I'm not going to follow him up. He's a 109 F4. So I can probably extend away from him and dive. Just based on the way that he flies, though, I'm thinking that he's going to like try to high yo-yo up behind me, as opposed to try to follow me down. So I'm going to use all the speed that I have, and now I'll just kind of like climb away a little bit. Because you see how this guy like broke off, like as soon as I started to dive like that? He's going to try to position into like a high 6 o'clock spot where he just kind of like sits above me and plays energy. If I can go out and get almost the same altitude, have the space to come back with some speed, I could probably kill that guy. But I think, anyways, Orion says he completely agrees, but he thought he was being too hopeful. I don't think it's like, I don't think people are wrong to hope that Gaijin develops EC to be something better than it currently is. Like I don't want to. I'm not gonna like. I don't like the modern bent of nothing ever happens. I'm cynical about everything. The world is aligned specifically against my own personal enjoyment. I don't really buy into that, and I think that that's kind of a really it's a very bleak viewpoint. That's why usually when people talk about Gaijin hates specific nations or prefers certain nations because of XY balancing decision, because of some vehicle that breaks the game. There's like 1,000 vehicles in the game, and there's enough out there that it's really a lot easier to just describe it to incompetence more so than malice. You can look at the situation with the Rafale for the past year. I think the BMPT thing is like the new big bugaboo as far as like Russian bias is concerned, but like it also took them the better part of 2.5, 3 years to give the Su-27 a flight model that is actually good. And they rejected multiple bug reports with the manual because the manual just wasn't a valid source, because it was for the export version, even though the export version and the domestic version are the same within like basically every kind of like important flight performance parameter. Like the export version was like slightly heavier. I don't like this position, so I'm flying away from this. Fuck this guy. You can have my 6. Let's see if I can actually get away from him. He might be too close. I might not be able to just like perpetually extend, but let's do P-51 things on the deck here and go away from him, because the 109 F4 deck speed is like 550, 530. So he's gonna try to shoot me with machine guns. He might get a lucky 20 mil. If we get a water leak, I'm just boned. But let's get a little bit of left rudder there. So I think he's still back there. I am not seeing the 109. I know it's a player. Yeah, I somehow have 72 viewers. I don't know. Maybe we got... I think... Oh, there we go. There's that 109 again. So since he's chasing me, I've got the space, I think, to force neutral merge. Let's try to see what we can do here. He's going for stall position. Downside of the 51 is its low speed like performance is really not that great. It really does kind of like wallow around at low speed, so you do have to be kind of careful of that. And like this position here, with that not killing him, like I'm gonna try to go here, go basically pull lead into where he's at, and I think with this high position I can actually use that. But instead of going down, because he's gonna pull as hard as he can, but he's at 250 kph or whatnot, like he basically has no speed. Now I think I can just kind of go around behind him and win. I'll go a little bit below him. Once I cross over, I'm going to go back up. And he's dead. That was a good fight. I think that was that is one of those things that I think a lot of people in War Thunder would really like, a dynamic that people enjoy is when you get like a fight that lasts a long time. There's a couple of moves that you do that are risky, that eventually pay off, or at least get you to the point where you're like, maybe that pays off. Because I don't always win. It could have very easily in the extension period. If I get hit by a 20 mil, if I get a water leak, obviously it's over. Me sticking that fight for as long as I did initially from the position I did was maybe a little bit risky. But like, that's a dynamic though. I think that like that guy, Aphexian, he didn't quit right away, so maybe he thinks that like in the future he could do better. Maybe from his perspective, he's like, oh, this guy's like actually pretty decent in the P-51. Where I did utilize a speed advantage that I could get over him to kind of reset the fight, but I didn't use it in such a way that he never had a chance. At the same time, maybe he's like, rage quit, P-51 OP, British bias. That's possible too. But now we'll have like a 5-minute period and we can like fly around. We'll wander towards the middle of the map and we'll go shoot down, I think, some bombers, probably. Destroy the bombers at E5. So we got some interactive AI targets, which I think is fine. Oh, too much mixture. I'm putting full radiator. But I think what we're kind of running into is basically the game is too collector centric too. At the same time, if you have the data for the game, and what do you do with it though? If you can track everything, right? And let's say that, rhetorically speaking, players say that they want to have a specific thing. The specific thing is A. And you have offered them a version of specific thing, which is A. And then when you look at the player numbers, when you look at what they actually do, the thing that they do predominantly is on thing B. Do you actually look at the rhetoric and follow the rhetoric, or do you follow what players do and respond to? Where people can say that, I hate $80 premiums and copy-paste and whatnot. And you look at the numbers on Stat Shark and like, yeah, every time they make an $80 premium, that's like basically printing a $1 million bill. I think someone did the numbers on the Aces of Thunder sales for a complete game, and then compared it to The sales of the F4S, the American Phantom Premium, $65, I think it is, plane, and Gaijin has made more money, and not even like slightly more money, but it oodles of magnitude more money on what amounts to a copy-paste F4 Phantom with premium benefits. I don't have a good response to that. I don't have a good way to argue that, from a business perspective, that why wouldn't you do the thing that obviously makes money and continues to make money? Like, imagine for a second, the year is early 2027, and Gaijin has added 5th generation fighters. 5th generation fighters have been around for about 6 months. And Gaijin's going to go through their scroll card of things to do to make money. And we're looking at the first $100 premium plane. We have 5th generation early fighters and 5th generation late fighters. So we have like an F-22 with no HMD, something like that, F-35 or whatnot. And then we have stuff that goes just beyond that, so like Su-57, F-22. For the sake of argument, let's assume that in-game the Su-57 and F-22 late model MLU-2 Super F-22 is a completely different thing. This is just to get the justification of stealth planes are not necessarily top tier anymore. They're like, there's early stealth planes that are slightly below top tier. What do you think is going to happen when Gaijin adds the premium YF-23 to the game? Do you think that that is going to sell like fucking hotcakes at $100 a pop? And my answer is, yeah. Duh. Like, it would be the biggest money printer, the most obvious one that they could possibly do. Like, it wouldn't even matter if it was good or not. If it had good research bonuses or just looked good, that would be it. Like, make its turn performance basically, like, you could take the flight model of the current F-15C, the Golden Eagle, slap it onto a YF-23 skin, put a $100 price tag on it, and it would sell like goddamn fucking bananas. Like, it would be stupid. And that would be, that act would be more profitable and generate more interest than this whole entire new game that they developed, where they developed the VR controller stuff to it, where you get to kind of like slightly interact with the cockpit, where Gaijin could continue to develop the interactive cockpit thing. I think there's merit to that. I also don't think that they will. I think that looking at the Aces of Thunder kind of numbers and whatnot, I don't think we're going to really see anything come of that, which is unfortunate, because it is an interesting concept. But it's going to be very similar to what they've already done, where they look at something, they kind of develop it, and then shelve it for 2 years. Instead, we're going to get submarines. Like, we're gonna get submarines, which, man, it's gonna be like crap. Maybe we'll get infantry. So I mean, it's kind of like, well, what's the option? Anyways, what do all 90 people in chat think? Because right now I've only gotten 5 kills. I've been playing for maybe an hour or so. The game itself is very slow. I am going to go back. I'll get the landing bonus. I'm going to leave this game. I will look for other games. But I might be coming back to this one. The 109 guy, Affexion, dude, this guy needs to be around here somewhere. There's no way. I got 3 minutes of gas, so I'll just turn around and go maybe find someone to fight. Actually, yeah. I'm not playing the fuel saver mode to go across the whole entire English channel. I could do it, but that is not interesting. So I'll go back and I'll fly at some dots, and maybe I'll try to strafe the airfield runway. Mr. Albatross says he will join potentially. I mean, I'm gonna join. This is poetry. This is poetry. I hope you get your ass fucked so hard you end up bleeding out smiley face. Okay, I'm gonna go hit the retouch button. Ryan says, I feel like with this infantry, more Gaijin may develop War Thunder into a super game where you have everything to play, like WeChat is in China, you have banking, socializing more in the app. I don't know. I would love to speculate on that. I think there's value in doing that, but I mean, I am of the opinion that until I see some kind of follow through with one of the things that they're doing, that I'm going to treat it as a one-off thing. Until we see something where concrete, hey, we did this event because this event was popular, we're going to continue with it, yada, 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 yada. I don't think the infantry alpha beta testing is done yet. It might be. I haven't been following it closely, but until I see something beyond that, it's not worth. The speculation is worthwhile, but I just don't think that there's any kind of concerted vision of what the game wants to become yet. Once we see movement towards something like that or some kind of vision, then maybe we can say that. But right now, I'm really... What I think they're doing more so is they don't have a vision. They're looking at their assets that they have that... When you look at this, right, and you look at any of the vehicle trees where, for the last 10 years, the game gets off on... we added new thing, grind new thing. We added new feature, new power creep thing, grind new power creep thing. That we can expand, we can continually expand the game until it includes all of the aircraft, all of the tanks, all of the ships, all of the whatnot. Right now, we are basically in the end game of that, where that process is not going to continue to work. We have, for aircraft, for instance, we're up to 4.5 generation fighters. We're up to planes that are not even technically in service yet, that are only being tested, like the new radar-equipped Typhoons. These are not going into service for probably the next year or so. I think the number that exist are very limited, and we're looking at about 1 to 2 more missile-based expansions for features. So we can get 2 more generations of missiles. So like the new generation of IR missiles we can get a new generation of active radar missiles we can get, and then our expansion as far as current game mechanics is basically done. The next expansion they can do as far as aircraft mechanics is you add ECM to the game, so electronic countermeasures, jamming, decoying, all that stuff. Once again, I don't think jamming and all that really changes anything. I don't think that is going to be as big of an impact as adding active radar missiles was, where you're not going to see a gigantic spike in the player base just because they added a button to an F-18 flight model that allows you to do jamming things, which whatever jamming things they decide to implement, like, who knows? We have no idea what they would do with that. But we are at the point, though, where we're looking at kind of like within the next 3 years, the game cannot continue on its current business model of add new vehicle, grind to new vehicle. Because even if you consider that they can add a bunch of stuff in the intermediate tiers that obviously skipped over some stuff, people, generally speaking, I think their business model, their marketing, their stuff, probably suggests that people don't go back. That if you add, for instance, I think there's a Canadian Sabre that is supposed to be better than the CL-13 Mark VI. So let's call it a 9.3 current plane. If they add that plane, nobody is going back to those tiers to grind for that plane, like in the same way that they're going to flip their shit over the F-22, F-35, Su-57, J-10, all of that stuff when it goes. So, like, once that stuff is in the game and there's nothing really left to add, there's no gigantic benchmarks, what do they do from there? And once you get to that point, maybe we get to this idea of, like, okay, maybe we're going to make the big super game. But who knows? I do have to go piss, though, so I will be right back. All right, let me plug the mic back in. Let me sit down. Let me make sure the microphone's working. I'll find a game in just a second. I know everyone really loves to watch prop tiers and whatnot. Watch me grind my brains out while I poison myself with alcoholic beverages. So James Scott says, since moving to high tiers this past month, I'm seeing so many Raymond type players too. And then funny crab emoji. I mean, those players exist at all tiers. It's just really egregious at higher tiers. It becomes really obvious when a guy, like the clip I posted last night of guy shooting down all of my missiles to get to a 1 versus 1 style merge where he has like all the speed in the world to actually do something with it and just jaying out as soon as he just flubs it. It's much more noticeable. One of the things that I find interesting, one of the things I find funny in my kind of quest to make the game bad for everyone else by playing it is, so in my server, I don't actually have a list of people to stream snipe or kill or anything like that. There's no official squish face shit list. What I tell people to do is just make your own. Like if you're gonna be petty, if you're going to embrace the inherent kind of like way the game makes you feel. Like, make your own list of people that you don't like, based on things that you see in game, based on like the way they behave, based on the way that like they act in chat or whatnot, like anything. And for me, like that bar to be on that list, I don't think is like supposed like is really all that high, because number one is like it's a video game. I don't really like take it that seriously. But one of the funny things is that through multiple communities, Raymond ends up being just one of those people that ends up almost inevitably on everyone's list, just naturally speaking, because you kill the guy and you're a cheater, or there's some kind of like hilariously weird thing that he says in chat that'll be like, you'll be like, wow, this was so dumb that it is committed to my memory. It has imprinted itself on my brain. Like, one of the things I think that I saw that just imprinted immediately is he had some point that he was talking about not playing against console players because people that play on console accounts get aim assist in simulator mode. And keep in mind, this wasn't my screenshot. This was someone else's. Basically, someone else just going, hey, look at this. Look how dumb this is. So, Orion says, is that the guy who made like 1,000 videos about cheaters? No, I don't think so. I think there's a guy that does that for Air RB or Ground RB, and I think he does pretty well at it. I've made my own series of videos on Mr. Glowworm, and he's been reported by like multiple streams, and it didn't matter. So I cope and seed. Got to destroy enemy attackers E6. Go to the point. I'll take the point. Win the point. But no, he's just like, Raymond is just like some dude who is, to be fair, like above average, but somehow just has a tendency to vomit the worst possible opinion onto the keyboard in the game, especially when someone is successful at killing him. Which, I mean, I more power to him, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't have like a lot of thoughts on Raymond. Like for me, Raymond exists as just like some dude who is fun to watch what he says. Like, to be a fly on the wall in the same lobby as him is literally just worth it, because you're going to see some just like something unhinged. It's in the same way that if you've seen people, for whatever reason, I think there's a War Thunder character archetype of FW190 player / like fanboy that you give them enough rope, you give them enough ink, you give them a pen, they're somehow gonna draw a swastika in one of the dumbest ways that you really just kind of want to you just want to be there. Like, you just want to be there to watch the train wreck. And for me, that's where Raymond exists. I think he popped up initially on my radar I think I was playing like 8.0, like ME262 C2B. I might have been playing something else. And I think it was like in a Seahawk or something with like missiles. And I want to say that I did something like I looked behind me and saw him shoot a missile, and then I pulled, and an AIM-9B missed, and then he's like, accused me of cheating with a sound mod. Although, most of the time when I fly and I'm in a banking turn, I'm looking over a shoulder. And this was, I think, was a game where he was probably like 7-0, 8-1, or something like that. Like, very obviously kind of like, oh, yep, it's one of these guys that plays the game to watch the numbers go up on the scorecard. Like, I think that's how he ended up on, like, my radar. And then I think me and Alex ended up playing P51H against, I want to say, like, 7.0 Jets. And he didn't like that, I guess. I don't remember. It is an older Beer Thunder video. And I think it's one of the F86s or one of those jet tiers. I don't care. I will ram into you. We both get credit for this. It will get me RP. I mean, this Secretary 115 says War Thunder players don't understand BFM, me included. I mean, I gotta tap the sign. Anyone that calls it BFM and War Thunder just doesn't know. Like, it's just like, they don't know what they're talking about. And I have an old rant about the Growling Sidewinder for occasion of War Thunder, or just kind of like Growling Sidewinder and its consequences. Basically, like, people really look at these videos and kind of take them as gospel truth without really prioritizing the doing part. And interestingly enough, I do have a side rant about that. I don't know how there's 95 people here or 98 people here, but a side rant about that is I gotta up the counter because this is the second game we've done. Let's see if that actually increases in a second. But kind of a side rant. I watched this video earlier today. I think it was earlier today. It might have been last night. About the F-35. This guy with a duck profile picture put out this video about the F-35, basically saying that all of the people that are claiming that it was not designed to dogfight are wrong and stupid. And one of the interesting things about that video, aside from it being about what I would expect for middle of the road YouTube content, like, I didn't think the video, like, I don't want to be like, this guy is so wrong, he's so stupid, he's so dumb, dummy, dumb, listen to Squish, I'm smart, other people dumb. Is that one of the screenshots that he used was from Mustang 64 server, which is a War Thunder server. And it was specifically Mutin and another guy that I've dueled in the past, actually. Basically, one guy saying, neener, test pilot says, not designed as a dogfighter, the clip in the video, the duck guy video, neener. And what I found interesting about that is not necessarily the saying itself, but just the fact that within the defense discussion aerospace space thing on YouTube, War Thunder is enormously influential. More influential than you guys actually probably realize. Like, this game, in a lot of ways, has rotted the brains of a lot of people, myself included, where it does reach its tentacles into, I guess, quote-unquote, serious defense discussion circles, or things that pretend to be, because I really don't know where to put the Laser Pig and Laser Pig adjacent audiences into that. Same thing with Millennium 7. I don't like it's hard to say. I will say this. I have had Twitter beef with Bill Sweetman ever since I started posting on Twitter. and I didn't know who Bill Sweetman was. I had no idea, and I guess he was like an editor for Jane's or some shit. But one of the things I found interesting also about the video the Duck Guy made was that one of his citations for the F-35 was a Bill Sweetman book. And in my experience, in interacting with Bill Sweetman and actually looking at what Bill Sweetman has to say, especially in the modern day, is the vibe I get from Bill Sweetman is kind of a pseudo-reformer. And that guy really, really, really hates the F-35. Like almost militantly so. Like, if I was not blocked on Twitter, or if I was ambitious, I would maybe try to tag him and ask him what he thinks of his claims regarding his book that he wrote about the F-35, that is maybe a little, like, dated, now out of, like, kind of like 10 years behind the times, about the F-35 being a good dogfighter or not, or even reaching that conclusion. And I think Bill Sweetman would be like, "No, this plane's fucking terrible, dude. It's dog shit. It's a fucking piece of shit. Should have bought more triangles." Granted, it'd be much more polite and white guy, middle class coded, but basically that would be the gist. I did find that really interesting. I also found the way that he kind of tried to substantiate the claims that the F-35 is a good dogfighter, it weren't necessarily wrong, but they were very, to me, unconvincing. And I think that there is a fine line in kind of tracking that program and tracking kind of modern combat planes that maybe a lot of people that consider themselves to be analysts don't really like analyze or draw distinctions to, where I have kind of unwillingly stepped into this space just based on the sheer number of the amount of documents I've read, the sheer number of discussions that I've been in, specifically in regards to airplane performance and whatnot, and kind of like looking at overall trends. If you look at overall trends over the past 30 years or so, there is a period, basically from the 1970s to maybe the mid-1990s, where energy maneuverability theory and all of its kind of, not hangers-on, I would say adjacent theories, adjacent ways to approach the problem of solving a dogfight, and this importance and emphasis on at least engineering planes that have good interceptor-style performance, but also have good within visual range performance, following like the Vietnam War and everything else. That there's a period where this is a high priority, and as time goes on, as systems capabilities increase, as counter tactics and more testing is done, more simulations are done, more mock dogfights, all this kind of thing goes on, that it gradually decreases in priority, where there's a point where adding more weight to the plane in additional systems is a net benefit compared to the amount of kinematic, like basically airframe performance that you're giving up. That there's a transition period, and basically, if we acknowledge this transition period, and you look at pretty much every modern aircraft that's based on a legacy fighter, so F-16, the late models, the F-15 late models, the even arguably the Eurofighter, arguably the Rafale, although that data is a little bit harder to come by. All of these planes, including the Su-35, mind you, are a lot heavier than their initial designs, their initial counterparts. The empty weight that is published for the Su-35 is quite nearly, I think, 20,000 kilograms. That is the weight, that's the specified weight that is used in the flight manual for the Su-27 in the early 1990s, the late 1980s, whenever that's from, for a plane that has the equivalent of 4 missiles and 25% fuel. The engine technology has not caught up to the point where it offsets that weight increase. The Su-35, arguably, in terms of like energy maneuverability numbers, metrics, bleed rates, turn rates, everything except for probably post-stall maneuvering due to thrust vectoring, is probably ultimately overall worse than the earlier Su-27s. I think that is probably a fair assessment. At best, if you're going to be conservative, it probably maybe still equals most of the performance metrics of the earlier, lighter Su-27s. And that line is not radically different than F-16 Block 70, Block 60, slapping conformal fuel tanks on things, even upgrading the engine still doesn't offset that weight increase. That weight increase is significantly more detrimental to flight performance than the consummate thrust increase to try to offset it. And I think with the new generations of IR missiles, with different simulations and different exercises and whatnot, because I'm going to say that red flag, kind of the large force-on-force stuff, it is still at its core a form of a simulation. That basically the within visual range aspect of air combat is probably such a crapshoot that nobody actually wants to get to that point. And the deciding factor in who wins or loses that is probably not down to a 1 to 2 degree per second turn rate advantage at optimal airspeeds and optimal conditions. It probably still comes down to who sees the other guy first, who has the better command and control, who can be looking in the correct direction at the right time to be able to shoot the good IR missile in the correct direction. And I am willing to bet that there's a certain range where everything kind of breaks down, where reactions can't be fast enough, where it is a crapshoot, where on one day you win 60% of the time, and then on the other day you end up being the only guy that wins 40% of the time. And with these high value systems, with pilot training and whatnot, no reasonable Air Force is going to risk those kind of loss rates. Because even if you assume that the Russians don't use their Air Force in the same way the Americans do, they still don't want to run the risk of basically 50% of the time they have no functional Air Force after that, where the risk of losing it and buying the farm, so to speak, is so great that in reality that these flight performance metrics of the Su-27 having a 1 degree turn rate advantage over a late model F-16 with conformal fuel tanks would be basically completely fucking negligible. And this is the operational environment, this is the environment that the F-35 exists in as well, where the F-35, if we go by what the duck guy says, and read in between the lines of the pilot interviews, is probably somewhere between an F-16 and an F-18, either E or late model C, depending on what one you want to use, because we don't actually know, in terms of turn performance. Also, neither of those planes are particularly bad in terms of turn performance. The F-18, while on paper, while on kind of strict energy maneuverability theory doctrine, is probably significantly worse than the F-16 when you couple it with 90-degree off-bore sight missiles, everything else. Like, I don't think any Navy guy is going to tell you that the F-18 is a horrible dogfighter and is abysmal dog shit. I think maybe if you get some of the Air Force guys that have flown both, they might have a preference for one or the other. But I think even then, they would still acknowledge that the F-18, even though on paper it is probably almost most definitely significantly worse, still has enough merit to it that who wins comes down to who saw each other first and who's actually better at flying. And when you scale it up to more than one plane, when you scale it up to multiple planes, it's probably just a fucking crapshoot. But that's my hot take. And I think in that context, saying the F-35 is a good dogfighter or a bad dogfighter, one, I don't think, it literally just doesn't matter, is a big thing. It's not as bad as people that hate the plane say it is, but it's also like nothing that we have out there really indicates that it's really exceptionally good. If anything, I think maybe a more fair point to make would be that fourth generation fighters, especially the unstable variety, with the way they carry stores externally, in their actual combat configurations are just significantly worse than what the F-35 can do. Where F-35 in its likely combat configuration of going into like a 1 versus 1 merge will have a good advantage over an F-16, unless the F-16 is planning for that and drops all of its external stores, its fuel tanks, gets from its Cat 1 to Cat or Cat 2 to Cat 1 kind of flight envelope where it does pull like 9Gs and has like a much more free flight envelope where, yeah, cool, it can win a dogfight. Also, now it ain't got no gas and you win the dogfight and then you fly towards friendly lines and you J out, you have no plane, and your pilot went through 14 Gs and he's probably not mission capable for at least a couple months. So, like, doesn't matter. And I think the answer, at the end of the day, as much as me, Squishface, dogfight, love dogfight, I love dogfighting and talking about it, doesn't matter. Fuck no. It makes jack fucking shit. Doesn't matter at all. 0% outcome on the future war with China and Russia or Greenland or whatever the fuck in the future. Nobody's going to push their planes to dogfighting range and like take those odds of 60-40. Nobody wants that. 60-40 is it's horrible odds. Like, terrible. Like to take a 60-40 split is gambling, and nobody's gonna do that. At the same time as the F-35, like, horrible, so bad that like it's unusable, in the Gripen so much better. Like I honestly, personally, would not be surprised to find out that the Gripen turn performance numbers are better than the F-35, but not radically so. I would not be surprised to find the Gripen's overall turn performance numbers to be very similar to an F-16C Block 50. I would not be surprised to see that, with the caveat being that the initial turn performance numbers are probably a little bit better. The bleed rate initially is probably similar in spite of worse thrust to weight, where there is probably a range of weights where the Gripen is better, where it's probably okay. But I wouldn't be I don't think that advantage, even if you deny stealth and everything else, is so far in the Gripen's advantage that like it really matters. At the same time, the Gripen E, and I'll be fair to Bill Sweetman, the Janes guy, who's like, this guy's so stupid. He said it had an F-18 engine. Like, it does. It has an F-18 engine. The first Gripen had the RM-12, which is a GE F-404, slightly altered to be a little bit more powerful, although I think it's maybe not the best comparison to say, oh, it's more powerful. I think the where it makes the thrust is probably the big difference. Basically, having dry thrust, low end thrust at low speeds versus high speeds. And planes have different different design limitations. It's probably a little bit more fair of assessment. The Gripen's designed around a single F-18 engine. The new Gripen is designed around a new single F-18 engine, but the upgraded version. So it's a Super Hornet engine. And what Saab has done is they have Super Hornet-ified the Gripen A. At least from airframe perspective. This is not a tech discussion of computers. Like, I don't know shit about computers. I don't want to know shit about computers. I have one. It's good enough for me. But because they're starting from a smaller airframe, there are things that are inherent to having a small airframe that the Gripen has to deal with, and I think they've done a pretty an upstanding job of making it somewhat good. The fuel capacity of increasing it by 40%. That's actually impressive. That's legitimately in engineering that's pretty damn cool. It brings it into the same weight class as later model F-16s, I think, and the capabilities overall end up being better, different, similar. You can argue that there's always a new version of the same thing on the horizon where F-16 Block 80 might be better than current Gripen, Gripen E Block, and maybe in the future new Super Gripen is even better. There's going to be things where they leapfrog each other. But physically, airframe-wise, probably for all intents and purposes, fill the same role, same range, roughly the same performance, or at least the same performance in ways that matter. I don't think right now. So here's the big thing. Let me drink my beer. And take my plane off. I do not think that in the current day, the ability to go to 50,000 feet and get up to Mach 2.2, 2.5, whatever the F-15 can get up to sling an AMRAAM is as important as it used to be, or as important as it used to be envisioned to be. So the fact that the Gripen and the F-35 only go up to, let's call it Mach 1.6, Mach 2, don't have the ability to sling the AMRAAM as far as possible. I think the Meteor kind of largely offsets that. I think some of the newer missiles largely offset that, where that kind of performance metric is maybe not that important anymore. Where I think the differences between F-16 late models right now and Gripen E would be negligible. Be like, okay, cool. If you gave the Gripen an AMRAAM and the F-16 an AMRAAM and you put them against each other, the F-16 or the Gripen, one of them can throw it 5% further. Woo, big deal. I think that might be the point that we're at. Sikarti asked me, what beer am I drinking? I am drinking my my standby, the Aromadome IPA. So I got a good old 7% pine cone beer. Well, it's a cloudy pine cone. So we got cover surveillance, cover bombers, no destroys. Okay, so DeWins has a point. He made a point. I'm going to address it, but I'm going to address it after I open another beer. because I do think it's worth addressing. I am going to take the risk of trimming this plane and hoping I don't crash between the time. Alright, so that's a little bit too much trim. We'll go there. Alright, I think I can make it get there and not crash. I haven't crashed yet. I haven't crashed. I am crashing out though. Da 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 da. Okay, I'm gonna go to 1 bajillion meters. Hey, I didn't crash at all. I did a pretty damn good job of trimming this piece of crap. Kind of proud of that. Make sure not put that over there. That's gonna be important paperwork I'm gonna be vaporizing. You can see my head move around, by the way, because I'm opening the beer and I gotta like stare over here at the beer. Walk back over here. Okay, so DeWinds, he's got this point. Says dogfighting as a concept doesn't really matter anyways. Within visual range is basically whoever has the best initial turn rate and getting off unflareable, undodgeable, missile, will end up both planes being shot down. I think in concept that is true. There are probably some techniques out there to really hedge your bets. I also think that most people in the Air Forces are not willing to stake their entire fighter fleet on the efficacy of these tactics to the point where that it just doesn't necessarily matter. Now, the reason, there is a good reason that Air Forces still practice dogfighting, and the answer is really simple. Is it's a really good stand-in for a high-stress event to test your ability to kind of like fly a plane and make decisions on the fly. Like, it's one of those things that the benefit is not necessarily in the result itself. The benefit is in just doing the exercise, where there is the benefits to, like, there's a reason that not every exercise mock dogfight starts out like neutral merge. Like, there's a reason that the Air Forces of the world, they'll train neutral merge, defensive, offensive, all that stuff in different situations. It's basically just a test of like how well do you fly the plane, and even if you have the worst plane, like, do you win? Do you hang on? Like, what do you do under pressure? What do you do when your brains are being shoved into your feet, when you don't have time to have like this methodical checklist of, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, what do you do when you're surprised? Where I think there's value for that. And it's in the same vein that if you look at, to make things a little bit more simple, doing hand-to-hand combat training for infantry dudes. Modern militaries practice that stuff too. Still, they practice like the army that I was in has like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu form that like we trained in, and realistically speaking, we're not like gonna go out like I'm gonna go to a bar fight. I'm gonna like karate chop some guy and I'm gonna be like Steven Seagal. Like, no, it's just like, it was good practice to put yourself in a situation that is uncomfortable and give you a set of tools to work yourself out of it, where using that same kind of approach to a problem in different situations is valuable. And to make it so that it's not completely unfamiliar, to make it so that it's not the point where you completely fall apart, to give you like a sense of confidence, to give you like, and for the fighter pilot guys, it really probably does boil down to some of the popular media stuff too. Like, you want to be good at it, because that's like the one time where you're like, I get to fight this guy by myself. I'm not part of this gigantic team, this formation, doing like, being a functionary. Like, I get to be myself. I get to do like individual things, and I get to like sweat my nuts off. And I think there's value in that transcends the tactical or strategic applications of the Eurofighter going in and blowing up everything with ass rammer missiles. Like, I don't think that's going to be an operational just thing that happens anytime in the future. But that's my hot take. But see, this says bar fights only happen if you're in the Navy. That would beg to differ. I have had some really interesting bar encounters. At least half of those involve people in the fucking Marine Corps. And it was very, 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 very funny. Because I think the one that I remember, I think I was like 25 or so. And I was downtown, and me, a friend of mine were drinking, and he had a date with him, and she was like a very attractive but middle-aged lady, like in her mid-30s. And these guys that were kind of like fresh out of basic training type were hitting on her because they thought she was like 20 or something, and I had to like step in and pretend to be her fucking husband, which was very, very, very funny. And then I had a buddy of mine with me too, and this was like, he had went to like go to the car to like get the truck or some shit. I don't remember what it was. He came back, and like these guys wanted to fight when it was going to be like a 3 versus 1, I want to say. And it was like some really dumb shit, like, oh, you're insulting my honor. I'm like, dude, you're just being an asshole. Like, you're just like, I didn't say that. I was actually a lot more polite than like, nah, man, like, this is my wife. Like, why are you hitting on my wife? Like, she's not comfortable with this. Like, we're just out here enjoying our time. Like, he's like, please leave us alone. Like, he's being like very, very diplomatic. Buddy came back and like got very close. It got very, very heated, but like, I was in a town, like, my buddy was some fucking special operations retard person. I'll leave it at that. But dude's like fucking 6 foot, like fucking 6'7". Like, Captain America looks up to him. And these guys immediately like, no, I don't want to deal with this. Because he looked like he could fucking eat them for breakfast. It was really funny. And they'll be like, I look like fucking Krillin, man. I look like fucking Krillin from Dragon Ball, man. I'm like short and bald and ugly and fucking in my orange jumpsuit. Alright, we got 85 people. But, I mean, it didn't pop off. But it was really like, bro, if you're a woman and you go out on the town and it's a military town, I feel sorry for you. But also, if you see some dude with fucking dog tags on, like, just run for the hills, man. Like, run for the hills. That at best, that ends up with you in a barracks room and getting pounded into the smell of like masturbation and wet socks. And I don't know, man. I just feel you could do better. But that's my hot take. Granted, I have... Now, damn, I don't want to say it. I don't want to talk about that. That's traumatizing. Like, I have fallen on... I will say this. I have fallen on some landmines in the past. Some real fucking landmines for my buddy. And we bro, we played each other. It fucking, last time fucking, it just pissed me off. Because this dude's like fucking 6 foot bajillion, has a thing for fucking Asian chicks, and was like hitting on this Asian chick, and for whatever reason, she liked me instead of him, and I liked her friend instead of her, because her friend was like a fucking Amazon. I was like, hell yeah, we'll make average heights babies. And for whatever reason, at the end of the night, we ended up going back with like literally the opposite of what we wanted. And just like in the morning, like, I did this for you. This was horrible. I never want to do this again. Like, you have never reached a low point until you fucked on an air mattress. It wasn't even my air mattress. That's the sad part. Alright, so I just saw something. Bro, this fucking shit's so dead. Like, what the fuck? Like, man, if you ever go home with someone and they got an air mattress on the fucking ground, even if they're staying at their friend's house, run the fuck away. Run away. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. Like, that's my life advice. Let's see, is there anything going on in any of these Discords? I don't think there is. I think... How do I have, like, why do I have 83 people watching a stream on a Monday night? Like, what the hell? But... I mean, overall, not doing too bad. 3 kills, 5 kills, 1 death. That one game should be ending. Let's see what we got out of that. Oh, plane? Plane? Play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me, come on, play with me! Yay, I'm gonna get a plane, oh my god, a plane in front of me, oh my god. And very white is very dead. That was good though, that was good. Oh my god, that was really cool. The femboy fertilizer has fertilized again. Very white is very gone out of the game. So I think right now if I was going to say is War Thunder a better value than Aces of Thunder, in all honesty, I would say none of them are good value. Because while this was going to be a good showcase of how quickly you can grind in Sim, it's not very fun to play games where it's a large map, there's literally 2 enemy players on the enemy team, 4 on mine, and just like nothing going on. Like this in and of itself is the game has a good number of players. The Sim mode has not enough players, and as the player counts reduce, as things get smaller, this kind of feedback cycle, I think, is going to continue, where if I can't find a good game within 20 minutes, I'm likely to boot something else up. And I'm a diehard. I'm a crazy person. I love this game. I love everything about, like, the one fight that I just had. It was really cool. But because of that, for an average player, like, the average guy does not like to just fly around aimlessly for 27 minutes. Got Ozone Baby. We got the cover call. We'll go over to the cover call. I think we can do that. Like, what do you do to make the game... Alright, what is going on with this, though? Why is... Oh, my engine died. I killed my engine. I was like, oh, why is my engine... Why am I slowing down? I have no engine. Alright, I go find new game. This will be another game to add to the thing. Win says Gaijin will probably port over the Aces of Thunder features to War Thunder once the Sony VR contract expires. I mean, once again, I don't know that's worth speculating. Until I see any kind of follow through, like, to me, it feels like Gaijin completes a thing, they do a thing, and then they forget about it completely. So my consideration is, I think Aces of Thunder, for all intents and purposes, might as well not exist right now. Like, that game is gone. It's over. It doesn't exist. They published it, and that was it. So I don't have... not a lot of games there. I think I can... Let me look at what I got for Japan, because I'm not gonna waste your guys' time with playing games that have no players in them. I will sacrifice my grinding ability to play games with at least a higher variety of planes in them. This one is 3 minutes in, 11B8, very likely split in 2. Magnoline. Denmark, Jengoju. I'm going to make a tap at Jengoju. I'll do P51C, though, on an up tier. So we'll increase game counter to 3. Okay, nope. Dark as fuck. Not playing that. So, allegedly, So to go over the earlier debate. Oh, cool. We got. So I got 21,000 some odd RP from, I think, the Dover Strait game we played earlier. So let's see what that gets us. So I'm not going to go for the Gladiator. It makes no sense to go for that. It's a dead end. I think it might be a dead end. I'm gonna order the Chesapeake. We'll do that because we do have to get to 6. So I will get these 2 because I don't want to spend 4,000 on this. We'll select crew later on that one. We'll get the Sea Gladiator. And now we can finally get into planes that are potentially in Aces of Thunder. So to get to the Aces of Thunder lineup, the quickest. So I gotta get 6 in this tier to go beyond. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or some version of this. So if I go down this left-hand line, I will eventually get to the Mark 9, the first Mark 9 that will top out my fighter tree for an Ace of the Thunder equivalent. So let's go Spitfire Mark 1, the Mark 1A. I'm gonna order this. Now the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, these are the iconic Battle of Britain Spitfires, by the way. The 8 machine gun ones, and these I think are actually quite good for the BR, but 2.3 is very slow. So 9,200. I can't get any of these, but I will put into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do this Spitfire lineup and then into this. I'll do this first. With the idea that I think that the Typhoon lineup is just as good as the Spitfire lineup, but I do actually prefer the Typhoon over the Spitfire. This is overlap of the old one. We'll go with again, and see what we got. The Secretary 115 asks, any tips for SL besides fly good and don't stuck? I'm stuck in Sweden needing to buy the MiG-21 and 2 Casvigans before I can move on to the next rank, and he only has like 600,000 in SL. My advice is not going to be good. My advice is going to be terrible. Hey, we got a lobby with bots in it, so this will give us, this is actually like free RP. So when I really want to get Silver Lions, when I want to grind SL as fast as possible, I don't actually play Sim. I will play Air RB. Now, the reason I'll play Air RB is because I am able to consistently get around 2 kills per game, up to 4, sometimes 6, even up to 8. I can grind out around 1 million or so SL in an hour with something like the P47M. The reason I can do that, though, is because I have a lot of experience in Air RB where I understand how it works. I would say my understanding is very similar to any of the good Air RB streamers or YouTubers. Like, I understand the game mode basically as well as Defin does. Do I do the mechanics as good? No. Obviously, I'm out of practice on it. But because I understand the game mode enough, I can do pretty consistently well to get SL in RB. To do it in Sim, honestly, I've been at the point that I've had enough SL for the things I want to play for long enough that I don't have good advice for that, because I prioritize my sim gameplay based on what I enjoy, and for me, if I'm going to do something I don't enjoy to maximize SL grind, I can do that in RB, and I will still enjoy that more than doing whatever kind of gimmick in SB to grind SL. Because in SB, if you're going to grind SL, the way to do it is you go out, you kill 2 things, get 600, 700 points, start a 15-minute timer, go back to your base, wait for 15 minutes to elapse, and then do it again. Where you can do that, where you sit on the runway and you wait for the timer to run out, and people do that, by the way. I just don't find that to be a good use of my time. I also don't advocate for that, because if you run that to its logical conclusion, that's very detrimental to the game mode, and I don't want to. I don't, as much as I hate the game mode, I don't want to kill the game mode that I actually enjoy by telling people to do the grinder thing, to use the game mode for grinding. So I don't have good advice for that. Orion asked, why is the export variant SU-27S getting heavier than the SU-27S? I think it came down to some avionics that they added to it. Was my understanding. Basically, the difference is, I think, 200 kilograms or so on a plane that weighs 19,000 and some odd kilograms. Like, it's the SU-27 is like huge. Like, so. Like, so I think it comes down to avionics. I can't tell you specifically what avionics. It could also come down to just like a way of bookkeeping both of them too, where maybe in one they count like a minimal amount of unusable fuel that isn't in the first one. Like, trying to understand exactly what's going on is very very temperamental. Like, just the conversion between indicated airspeed and true airspeed isn't consistent within their own documents either. The T50 manual that Gaijin was using to model the SU-27 has kind of different aviation conventions than the SU-27 SK manual, which I think is interesting. And trying to discombobulate those two, decouple those two, and then compare them to Western standards. Like, that whole process is very tenuous, and I'm still not entirely sure that I got it right. For me, I will be very interested in other SU-27 documents that either get leaked, become available, anything else. It's not so much of like, I want to prove the SU-27 is the best fighter plane in the world. Like, no, I want to see, like, how close is the analysis that I made to reality. Because I think that aerodynamically speaking, airframe speaking, I think the plane is actually like quite good for a 4th generation fighter. Like, I think that's a pretty fair middle of the road assessment based on the things that we've seen it do. I also think that everything else about it, basically the Russian ability to produce like electronics, modern radars, everything else that would make it really, really good in the modern day are basically lacking. With the caveat to that being that the Russians are not stupid to the extent that they don't realize the disadvantage and don't have their own means to work within kind of the own framework that they have. Like the Urbis E, I think overall is not a great radar by modern standards. But what they did is they basically made a super duper powerful radar that isn't necessarily resistant to jamming, but it's just so powerful that it can't be jammed at certain distances. Like it's just kind of like, well, we don't have the nuance to make it do all the fancy stuff, but we can just make it bigger. And if we just make it bigger, if we make a big enough spotlight, trying to blind a gigantic spotlight is a lot harder than trying to blind a flashlight. And I think that's a region that they've like been able to analyze their shortcomings, and I don't think they bridged the gap by any means. Like I think, but I also think that if Western analysts, whatnot, sleep on the merits of what they already have, that they could very, very quickly turn against them too. Insofar, and when I say quickly, I mean in a period of like 20 years. I don't mean of like, oh yeah, overnight the Su-50 is going to be like the greatest stealth fighter ever made, but the thing that supersedes it could be pretty good. Upgrades to the Su-50 might make it a very competent threat, but I don't have that data, so it's like completely speculative on my part. Let's go up, let's go on, and go reverse them. Takeoffs. He's gonna go up, I'm gonna go underneath him here. Okay. And he's been blown up. Oh fuck, oh, I'm getting shot at. What the fuck is this guy doing? Yeah, stalling me out apparently. I mean, the counter can also be for the number of beers drank, but I'd have to up it by like twice. So I now got that guy. He's going to be sitting up above me right there. I really, really wanted to hold energy. A friendly Spitfire. Womp womp. I'll get the cap point here. That'll get me a good score. Hey, we got 69 viewers. Nice. Another objective complete. Go get the landing bonus. So I think the score threshold is around like 660 or so. So if I go back to base, land, and then take off, I will have the maximum amount of useful actions, which is the very poorly defined system that Gaijin has implemented in Sim. Once you get back to the original discussion of there's no gravity, man. There ain't no gravity. Like, yeah, I destroyed a recon aircraft, but what does that materially do to anything that's going on in the map? And I got 2 ground battles, and I'm not going to go do anything about them. Nobody on my team is going to do anything about them. At best, it propped here. Due to the damage models of the ground targets, you actually do have to have dedicated ground attack ordnance. And I don't think destroying 1 to 2 tanks really has a significant enough effect on it to weight anything. Like, we will win one of those and probably lose one, and tickets will remain basically the same. In the meantime, I'm going to be flying against, we got 1, 2, 3 real players, 4 players, a couple of bots. My team is bots. It doesn't, for the purpose of this stream, doesn't really bother me. Like, this is actually a weeknight for most of y'all, so weekend for me. Although I will go to school tomorrow. My weekends are also my school days. But once these games are over, I will get a considerable amount of RP. 20,000 or so on the first game that ended netted me about 3 planes. I think the next 20,000 or so will net me about 2. So realistically speaking, the results of about probably 7 games of Sim EC. So around, conservatively speaking, 7 hours of gameplay in a premium plane with a premium account would get you to the exact same point that you would with Aces of Thunder in an individual tech tree. To get, like, if your goal was simply to get the 6 planes for the British tech tree and Aces of Thunder and ignore everything else. Probably 7 hours of just playing the game in like the P51 here. Which maybe not worth it. At the same time, like what's the value added proposition of all of the planes in between? Like what's the value added of the Battle of Britain Spitfires? What's the value added of an early Typhoon and a late Typhoon? The different cockpit style, the 8 machine guns, all of that stuff. Is there any value added to that makes it worthwhile? Is there value added to playing a game that is ostensibly more realistic just due to pop torque effects? Is there value added to being able to readily find a game at the tiers that you would like to play? I know tonight's not super active, but I haven't had to wait 30 minutes to like just play the game. Granted, I do wish it was more active. Well, the Wince also says about the value added by the other game modes. I mean, I'm not counting those in the value proposition, because I assume if you get Aces of Thunder, or you're considering Aces of Thunder, you are looking explicitly at its value as a World War II flight simulator based game. And like I wouldn't consider like for me. So for instance, I think maybe to make this more personal, in my instance, adding new tanks to the game, the tank part of the game means absolutely nothing to me. The ship part of the game means even less than nothing. Because at least with tanks, I've actually played them, and I can. I don't enjoy them right now, but I don't enjoy them because I'm not good at them, and I haven't taken time to be good at them. And I am a very odd person that I don't enjoy grinding, and for me, the grinding barriers to tanks to build like complete lineups for certain tiers, I don't have that motivation. I don't have it. I don't want to have to build up my 6.3 USA lineup and then grind a crew for each tank and do all this stuff. And the thing is, I started as a tank player, so I actually like was there at one point. I'm like I can't be bothered, man. So for me, like Aces of Thunder is 100% in the wheelhouse that I would like. At the same time, there's a lot of things that make it unappealing too. For me, my personal opinion for my enjoyment of the game, while I enjoy getting big kill games and a lot of kills and no death and being like, wow, look at my thing, I did so good, I really do enjoy those close fights. I enjoy those fights where I know the other guy is competent and knows what he's doing, to an extent where, yeah, sure, I like to win most of the time. I don't like losing, and I don't claim to be a gracious loser. I don't think anyone should like really deny that. Like, I don't like losing, but I can also see value in losing once in a while, and like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have tried this thing that was stupid. But I have a better chance of finding reasonably experienced players in War Thunder Sim than I do in Aces of Thunder as it currently stands. Where I am not going to be able to download Aces of Thunder and be like, Greg's Airplanes, I challenge you to a duel, and actually have anything like interesting. Like I don't think that the people that are playing Aces of Thunder have the depth of experience necessary to offset my War Thunder experience, and the people that would already play War Thunder. Like Idaho Bookworm, I think is a perfect example. He got the game and he refunded it already. And Idaho is a really fun guy to fight against. If you can get him into a 1 versus 1, like it's a very dynamic, very very hard fight that, like, between me and him in an EC game, it really comes down to like a 50-50 split, a 55-45 split. Like where that dynamic is interesting, where I gotta actually kind of pull out all the stops. He's not playing Aces of Thunder. The only people that are going to be very unfamiliar with War Thunder flight models, the way they work. And I have so much, I have a depth of experience that, like, is just so far in excess of them, that I would find literally nothing interesting. There's not gonna, like, I don't think there's gonna be what's his name? There will not be an Aaron Freeman equivalent for Aces of Thunder. There just won't be. Like, there will not be that guy. For those that don't know, Aaron Freeman is a War Thunder Sim player from a long time ago who eventually became a Korean pop YouTube channel, I think. Like, he was really into K-pop. He's like some Russian dude, but he's got some old videos of, like, the way that he flew in Sim, his ability to control a plane, like he took it to an art form. It was like, it's really, really cool to see the way that he does it. And I try to emulate some of that in my stuff, but I don't think I come anywhere close to him. I think Biscuit Destroyer, I think, is maybe the guy that's maybe the closest as, like, a spiritual successor, but I mean, he puts out, like, montages and whatnot. But you're not going to run into guys that are on that level in this brand new game that just started with brand new players. And I don't think I'm willing to wait 10 years for those players to develop. And I don't think, I don't necessarily think that with the way the game currently is, that those players will develop. Let's see, you got Corsair. Oh, I'm an American playing that, so. Like, right now, for me, this is it's a Monday night, and even in War Thunder Sim, in a battle rating bracket that is usually pretty popular, just due to our time frame right now, it's very much me kind of beating up on people less experienced. Although this laser beam guy, I haven't killed him yet, and I need to figure that the fuck out. I think that was the guy that was, like, sitting above and behind me, though, too. So I think what I can do is, he's probably the stot over there. Let's see, Orion says, if I were to get 6 kills in the air, I get 30k RP. Yeah, that's true. My assumption, though, going into this, for kind of like the purposes for this demonstration is to showcase the game mode that you would want to play versus the thing that is the most productive in regards to RP generation, because I very much understand the reluctance to do a thing that like I inherently don't enjoy. To the point that like you cannot drag me kicking and screaming into Tank Arcade, even if the reward's like 10 times better. If I wanted to build that RB lineup, like I just don't have I don't have that desire, and I like you can't get me there. At least with this is a direct thing of like you can come in to War Thunder, learn to play the game a little bit. The flight models are largely the same. Don't have to do necessarily too good. Like, yeah, you can buy planes that are actually quite good out the gate. Like, I think like this is a really excellent plane. It's not good for the way that most people would use it, but you can get 109 F4s right away out the gate too if you want. Well, that's a pretty intuitive plane. Oh, I thought that was a bot, but it's a player. Like, in War Thunder, like, if you were brand new, and you wanted to just have, like, a good gameplay experience and not think about anything else, getting the American T-61B would be a very, very easy pickup. You wouldn't necessarily learn a lot because the plane is very strong in the sense that its turn rate is quite good. Its top speed for the tier is quite good. Climb rate is still, it's middle of the road. There are things that are better, but not significantly better in it. But it's one of those planes that if you dive on a guy, you dive, you pull really hard, you sit behind him, and you probably kill him. Where there's not a lot to learn, but you would get through a lot of the American tech tree very, very quickly, in a way that felt like you were actually, felt rewarding. Now, once you progressed further into the game, once you kind of learned more about kind of the nuances of flight, well, you'd be like, maybe I don't like the Ki-61 as much. Maybe I don't like the dynamic of I have a plane that just, if I get close, I turn good and win, where maybe you wouldn't like that because it doesn't duplicate that, like, trigger that, like, funny part of the brain that, like, I want to understand World War II boom and zoom tactics. I want to understand how different things match up. And if my matchup is Brigadier, pull hard, win, maybe that doesn't work, but for a grinding perspective, it definitely works. Kiriki says he really loved the XP55 when he started playing. I mean, the XP55 is another reasonably good example. I don't think there's more nuance to that than the T-61, because the XP55 turn performance is very similar to, I would say, Yak 3, with just more energy retention, more, like, it's better at high speeds, I think worse overall sustained, with the way that's been in War Thunder being like 3.0. It's a very, very pay to win plane if you actually, like, have half of a brain. At the same time, you're not going to get the XP55 in Ace of the Thunder. Which, maybe you like the XP55. Maybe you're like a Curtis enjoyer. Or a Canard enjoyer. Which is fine. Like XP50, I think, is another good example. I think XP50, though, is largely in sim a lot more fair and balanced than the XP55, because the XP50 in Sim is a twin-engined, ever so slightly better, ever so slightly worse BF109 F4. It's a little bit faster, but it turns the smallest margin of worse. And then you have the counter-rotating props, where to actually fly it to its maximum performance is actually like pretty straightforward and easy. So like for me, when I see XP50s in Sim, that I treat them like any other plane. Like, it's just a dude doing the thing in a plane that he wanted to minimize the idiosyncrasies of prop torque and whatnot. And then I treat it like a 109. And in all honesty, I have no problem with the XP50. The XP50, even with the XP50 currently, with the way the plane got the air spawn removed, I honestly kind of don't find it to be all that powerful at 4.0. You can make the argument that like, oh yeah, that 6,000 meter performance advantage, that 5,000 meter performance advantage is like super important, but I have yet to see that realistically manifest itself. Hey, my AI killed the guy for me. Alright, some green tracers over there. The Stuka. The Garol. What is that plane? Oh. Probably another AI controlled bot there. I got 4 rounds left, so of course I would find the one time oh, what the fuck? Goal number 3. I'm killing this guy. I'm killing him. 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 Shit myself. Okay, I am wandering back. So we got 64 people here, allegedly. So 4, probably. And we're gonna wander out and see what we can do again with this. So I didn't mention this earlier. The Wind says that I unlocked the Mark 1 Typhoon Mark 1B Aza. No, not yet. It'll be soon. I mean, I do have the Aza Typhoon on my main account. Have played it. It's a good plane. It's just Iron Dome missile defense beta is boring and stupid. I don't like it. I don't care if you can argue if it's realistic or not. I think it's stupid. Now, with that being said, the point of the stream tonight was to showcase how far I could get in the tech tree, just playing Sim, and whether or not the game is War Thunder is a better investment than Aces of Thunder. And like as I said, jury's still out. You can make your own conclusions. But one of the things that I'd like to highlight about EC, and EC right now, and specifically in our situation, which is playing on a weeknight, is that 3-0, 4-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-0 to 6-0, this whole entire around 3 to 6 range is the popular range of War Thunder Sim. For props, at least. You get like kind of a dead zone beyond 6-0 up to, I'm going to call it 11-3. And then things start to pick up again. But even in this like popular battle rating range, I have 5 human opponents, more bot opponents than human opponents. And I have confined myself to one plane, which means I only have one battle rating range I can go through. Where if you are getting into the game and your options on the nights that you can play are very limited, like this, you're very, very likely to put the game down and go, I don't really want to learn this. I don't want to learn the nuances of playing the game. And by playing the game, I don't mean the part of me doing the joystick thing and be like, okay, the finesse of the controls. Like, no, learning the game for Sim is learning how to find, like, the one game where there's actually players in it. I think if your predominant experience in getting into Sim is being kind of like lost, wandering around, whatnot, that this when I started this was a very, very unfulfilling experience. I have had multiple false starts at Sim before I like sucked it up and decided like I was gonna learn the game mode, and there was no guides out there, and there's no guides that are gonna tell you to scroll through all of the game modes, look for names, and try to figure out like what's going on, or give you like a step-by-step guide of like, hey, do not play Smolensk. If you play Smolensk and it's 4 versus 4, that's a 128 kilometer map. That's 60 square miles. You ain't finding anything. You're gonna be bored as hell. Like, for me, when I started Sim, the thing that I wanted to do is I want to get to the fight as soon as possible. In large part, not just because ADHD brain, you're bad, you're stupid, but this period of flying around searching for people when you're brand new actually, I don't think really benefits you, to be honest. I think like just getting into a fight and then being able to like I got into a fight. I came in from high altitude and then I ended up flat turning on the deck and then I lost. like being able to repeat that process multiple times in quick succession is more valuable than doing it once every hour and having the same result. Because if you're brand new, you have no idea how to approach a fight. And the only way to even begin to learn how to approach a fight is to actually repeat it multiple times. And with the way the game is right now, if your thing is, if your idea is I want to repeat fights multiple times, right now it's slow. It's just slow as hell. Let's see. The SU-57 with directional IRCCM be the true Iron Dome meta. Man, with the way that top tier currently is, I'm not looking forward to anything. Like, I need to sit down. I need to, like, sit down, shut up, and stop doing drunken streams. Record an actual beer thunder about the current state of top tier or something like that. And I don't have the motivation to do that. I've had a couple of good games of top tier. They all look exactly the same as every other good game of top tier I've had. There's like, you gotta really, I don't know, I like the way I would explain it is you have a very wide pool, you have a very large pool, but it's a very, very shallow pool. And with new updates, with the way the game has gone, I feel like we get a wider pool, but man, is it very, very, very shallow. And I think the tank players would also probably agree with that. I think that would like actually be a very good analogy for tank players, with the way map design has went. Where I do see a lot of complaints in regards to maps being close quarters, battle centric. And I think this does actually get back to like a point that I made earlier, though. Like, well, what are the most commonly banned maps? What maps do people are vehement about not wanting to play versus play? And I would argue that the trend is probably towards smaller maps, because Gaijin in their metric tracking system probably sees that smaller maps are preferred, regardless of what players say. Where this is a situation where players say they want one thing, but if the most banned map is the big, stupid, dumb map that nobody actually wants to play, this idea that, oh yeah, we love big maps, it might not actually apply in tanks. So big maps with terrain, 100% not a thing that actually applies in practice in air SP. If I go to top tier, it is practically guaranteed that 2/3 of the maps that you will see will be very, very flat, very, very open. Denmark, Sinai, there will be one map with terrain, where the number of people that want terrain versus the people that actually want to play in terrain are completely two separate things. I mean, the reason people want large maps in Sim, and larger maps in Sim, is because they imagine that larger maps will spread out players more, that engagements will be more 1 versus 1 centric, or 2 versus 1, or like more prolonged, in a way that they have a better chance of winning otherwise unwinnable engagements, that players won't be incentivized to fly close to each other. And I don't think that's true. I actually think that it's possibly the opposite. Where if you give me and my friends a big map to play with, instead of, like, number one, we could do one thing where we spread out and try to control the entire map. But we can also do another thing where instead of spreading out, we concentrate and run an attack down the left side of the map or the right side of the map, where you might imagine that you're going to get a 1 versus 1 against like an isolated opponent because you imagine that people spread out evenly, where instead you get a 3 versus 1. Or you end up on the side of the map where you end up, there's no teammates around to support you, where the ability for your teammates to save you just doesn't exist. And then you end up being in chat being like, where's my team? Why is my team so bad? And we end up just pushing down one side of the map and winning that way. That is a very reasonable possibility for the inclusion of large maps. I think larger maps also do play into guys that want to do bombing objectives, PvE objectives with minimal interference, where if you pick a bombing point that's on like the right edge of the map of this like 250 kilometer map where you're just like not likely to get intercepted, some people will like that. Some people are like, oh my god, this is great. I get to I'm sneaking into the objective. I'm doing the thing. I'm flying low, and then like you get that like illusion of doing that. But in reality, like the SU-30 has spotted you on the radar, and it's like, I just don't want to burn the fuel to go defend an objective that's worth like 50 ticket points. Like it's not so much that he can't defend it. It's just like, why bother? And I think for some people that might be the draw of larger maps. Like I think this is like a situation like people imagine larger maps will play differently than small maps, and I don't think they do. I think larger maps play like small maps do. Okay, let me fucking maneuver here. But they just play like the current size maps with just less players. So like a 128 kilometer map with 4 players on it would be the same as a 250 kilometer map with like 6 players on it. And so it's like, well, you want the benefits of basically smaller games, is I think what it comes down to. And I don't know that I don't know that that's a good thing. I would argue, like my gut argument is that's a kind of oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I could have killed that guy. Well, I did kill him. Okay. Middle map. I'm killing that guy. I'm killing Laser Beam. Albatross says that he got drunk and made himself sad. Albatross. Albatross, Albatross, Albatross. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. Listen to me. I have a way to make you not sad. So, turn off the game. Turn off the computer. And bear with me here. Bear with me here. Just like unplug for a second. And then go talk to your wife. And then you won't be sad. Go talk to your wife. Be the wife guy. Be the wife guy that we all know that you are. We are all jealous of you. Even the guys that want husbands are jealous of your wife. Like, how many people can play War Thunder and say that they have a wife? There's like 2 people. That's it. You're one of 2. It's like a sand dollar. Perfect. Okay, so we got. Alright, I mean, usually we show the games won or lost too. Unfortunate. Oh, laser beam died. Laser beam died. Laser beam died. Laser beam died. La la la. Laugh at him. Laugh at him. Laugh at him. Laugh at him. Don't worry, I'm also a wife guy. I love my friends' wives. Oh wait, that sounds really horrible. I'm not taking that back. You can draw your conclusions with that. Oh, laser beam, parachute to contemplation. Okay, so wingtip vortices, that's a player. They're 109 shaped. There's one. And the second 109 shape is our friendly, so. Femboy Fertilizer has fertilized. Channel my inner Air Force pilot here. Go for trailing shot. And channel his inner target practice, I guess. Oh, it's a 109 up there. So the Gottfried. So what's Mustang doing up? I mean, Mustang doing tonight? Why is the Mustang here? Watching the propers. The Gottfried, yeah. I love the Gottfried. Oh, I already left. I'm going to capture this point, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at other available lobbies. Because this one is rather slow. We got, well, I think Ghoul number 3 here. And not a reroll. He's just playing energy. Vaguely 190 shaped. Oh, it's gonna be the friendly 109 now. That's gonna be my guess. Yeah. The British one P-51 is quite good though. Not hating it. The gun. The fire rate on the guns is kind of meh. The damage on the guns also very... It's not bad, but it's not as consistent as I would like. Which really means I just need to like hit 1-2 as opposed to maybe just a 1. But I think between the two, like I think the gun damage is probably like consistent enough. If the fire rate was like 50% more, not honestly for 4.0 actually not bad though. I'm not gonna be like, well actually the plane is actually really good. Should just be better. We get the A point. And let's just do a check of the top speed on the deck of like what this thing can maintain for a bit. Yeah, still losing speed. I'll pull hard, which maybe it'll get me a little bit slower. I mean, from this, say realistically, 575 on the deck at 4.0 is quite good. Want to say BF-109 F4 can do 530 for a bit. All the zeros are like 450-ish. The Italian stuff I think tops out at like 490. Quite slow. 575 575 on the deck is a very, very good speed to have, especially on the P51. Like arguably, we could say the plane's under tiered, but for practical effects, I'd say if it is under tiered, you could move it up 0.3 and be fine. At the same time, like those tiers are based on the way that players decide to fight versus the way that they should fight. So I think that's a point to be made too. Because as much as people would like to argue that a 25 kilometer per hour advantage in top speed is decisive if you just play it correctly, there's got to be some there has to be room for errors. There has to be room for getting into turn fights. There has to be room for that of like not strictly playing 600 bajillion kph of like I'm gonna go straight for 10 minutes to then turn around. Like we could do that, and then obviously the top speed matters more. But the average player is not going to do that. The average player is not going to have that 25 kilometer or 12 kilometer situational awareness bubble, and I think it's fair. So I think realistically speaking, the plane's fine for a 4.0. So we'll go back. There's only one guy in that game. It's the only game available. Got that one. And this is the one that I was in earlier. And then we have Denmark. So we have reached a point that I think is maybe the biggest drawback to War Thunder Sim, which is while you have better player numbers than Aces of Thunder, and you might have arguably better gameplay and better variety, right now, at the current time, I am walled off to 3.0 to 4.0 BR. For the thing that I bought. So conceivably, if I started here I have a choice of 3 lobbies, and none of them are inherently interesting. If you want a PvP experience, we already went through this one. We were just in this one. This is 2 players total. We go all the way down to 1.7, but we're not considering that. Where even with the higher player count, to get into War Thunder Sim as your primary game mode right out of the gate, in all honesty, you're kind of shoehorned into that $80 premium tier, that $70 premium tier, that $60 premium tier. Like, if you want something to happen. And those tiers will get you through these earlier tiers faster. But the idea that I had of that I was going to go in with a premium plane in a BR that I actually want to play, that I find enjoyable in its own right, and grind to other tiers, in all honesty, for me to get to 5.0, I think this would take probably a couple days of doing it off and on. My attention span right now for this is it's tapped out. I don't have none of these games that I can go to are remotely of interest. The only thing that makes them technically, yeah, you can grind them. You can go in and be like, okay, I'm gonna blow up some bombers and turn around and go back. But like, if you want to like play a game and just play it the way that you want to and progress, this game is at least on a weeknight not it. Now, I think if I repeat this experiment on a Friday or a Saturday, it'll be a lot better. But realistically speaking, after 4 to 5 hours of gameplay, probably get the Mark IIB. Maybe get this. So basically, after 5 hours of gameplay, we'll get to halfway to the tech tree point of the Aces of Thunder, a single tech tree. And maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Doing it in ARB would be far quicker. Doing it in Japan would be far more rewarding, just because if we look at Britain, for our rank 2 plane, 2.3, we got Spitfire, Mark 1. If we go to rank 2 on this, we get Key 44, which is this is a really good plane, and then Key 61, so we would already be at the Key 61, this would be a good plane. Arguably, maybe, like, it depends if you pick and choose the tech trees, but just being the fact that we are shoehorned into 3 versus 2 with nothing going on, a split lobby at this point of 7 people, I think. 7 versus 7 in a very large map, 7 versus 7, where while Aces of Thunder has a peak players of like 24 to whatever, right now in this game we have basically the same population. So would I recommend buying a premium in lieu of Aces of Thunder? And the answer, I think, right now is yes, but no. It's a better use of your money. but I honestly think that neither of them are a good use of money, especially if you are someone who is dabbling, deciding to get into something where the structure of the game itself is such that you have to come in and be coached through all of the nuances of being able to recognize, like, hey, but a Monday night, you might as well just not boot the game. You might as well watch Monday Night Football. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you might boot the game, but then you have to realize the nuances of 4.0 to 5.0 days where this plane at 5.0 into a predominantly Key 84 lobby is probably, for most players, not good. Yes, I can probably make it work due to my experience level, but it's in the same vein that I can make this work against 1 F4 in like a pure dog fight. For someone who's just like getting in to learn, not very good. And I think for this reason, and I think for structural reasons, like for me, it's very hard to say that there's anything we can do with Sim to make it better or more popular. That's what I struggle with. Now, if I take a quick look here, I'm going to switch off the available rooms. I got a couple of 5-3, so that's 4-3, 5-3. If I get to that BR, that'd be good. So this game here, this Tunisia is probably split because 13 minutes in. This would be if it was full, this would be a good game to play. But because we are new player and can't get to there, we can't play that. 37, 14, 7. This doesn't matter, but I'm just going to look at it. Okay, this 12, 3, 13, 3, 12, 3, 13, 3, 12, 3, 13, 3. If you get in 12, 3, 13, 3, you're probably in a good BR range with the premium planes. Same thing. Lots 12, 3, 13, 3s, 5, 7, 6, 7. Gonna run into bomber spam. 2027. Smolensk. This is a 128 kilometer squared map with 4 people on it. In biplanes. This is not a good time. 5, 7, 6, 7 Denmark. Same thing as all Denmark games. Rocky Canyon. Same thing. Full mix, 3 versus 2. I don't even know why this is allowed, to be honest. Like, 128 kilometer map. What is Rory 26 doing? Dude, this guy's like playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's gotta be it. Like, he must enjoy just flying around, like, looking at terrain. Which, fair. More power to him, I guess. Magno, full mixed, high tier stuff. Once again, with the high tier stuff, though, you're looking at $50-$60. Like, is that worth your foot in the door? My answer is, if you didn't have the desire before, and you don't have the current desire, and you're not already here, do not come. Do not come. Do not show up. Do not play. It's honestly, my end of the thing. Do not come. Never come. Always hold. Always hold out. Anyways, that's going to be the stream. I'm going to go to bed because this is, I'm going to go to school tomorrow. I got 47 people. I'm signing off. I quit. This is, I've reached my limit. It's 10:30. And normally I can keep this up till probably like 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't do it. I quit. I'm going away. I will let you know how many planes we get unlocked because we do have some games in the battles queue that once they do finish out that we will get some planes. But realistically speaking, probably get to the Mark 5B Trop, Mark 1A Typhoon. I think those are 2 easy picks. So roughly speaking, half of a Aces of Thunder tech tree. So maybe in some ways, like, well, if Aces of Thunder had a population, maybe it'd be worth it. But right now, it's not. I quit. I'm a quitter. Quitter. Chicken dinner. I'm gonna go. I don't know. Maybe go get McDonald's or something. I don't know. I quit.